Okay, so even if you choose a population that's sort of small, like all the students at Queen Margaret, it's still difficult. That's still a big enough group that would make it difficult to get any real question asked about for everybody, right? Is it possible to ask every even year 12 student the question? Probably.
No.
Yeah, people are going to be absent. People are going to be not willing to answer. Yeah, there's going to be stuff, right? So instead, what we do, instead of asking everybody in the population, is we choose a sample. And again, this is something very similar to what we did in the past. Now, so we're going to use a sample. And there are lots of ways that samples can be chosen, right? Last time we sampled different classes in the school, but we just chose whatever teacher would let us come to their class, right? And so the random sample was chosen for us by just who was willing, right? But there are other ways to choose a sample. But choosing a sample means you're just picking a part of the population that you're looking for. For example, like your pilot. You just chose a sample to do the pilot survey when you did those, right? Okay. So look at this first question. Think about, how could your teacher select a group of students from a class in order to check the completion of homework? We're going to look at 3 different ways. And I'm just going to get a volunteer or 2 to think about ways in which I could select a sample to see who did their homework. Okay? Now, of course you didn't have homework this time. But if you had homework last time. So any homework. So any class. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be mine.
You're not talking about us.
Yeah, not us. So how could a teacher select a group? Ella, Craig, you want to be first? All right. So how could I say I want to know from just this group of students, how could I pick a sample to see who did their homework? Perfect. All right. Did you hear that, guys? Come on. So you could assign everyone a number and then use a random number generator to select a sample. Right? Excellent. Okay. Isabella, can you give us another way that might work?
Randomly?
Okay. Well, we did. So we did a random sample, but how could you pick somebody randomly? If I just have a class. Keep it simple. Think of any way. It's all right. I put you on the spot. I know. Well, think about where you're all sitting. What could I do? I could pick one from each group, right? And that would give me a random sample of students, yeah? Okay? I could get a sample. Right? Olivia Evans. Great, I've already picked on you some. Emma Law, there you are. Emma, how about another way? How can we pick a sample? So one of them was assign numbers and do a random number generator. She said that we could just go through and pick one from each group at a table. Any other ways you can think of?
Do the first half of the roll, or I don't know, every second person on the roll or something.
Okay, yeah. Just look at the roll sheet and pick every other person. Right? Okay. That would work. Yeah. Or every third or every fifth or whatever. You could choose it differently. Okay. What about, could I just put everybody's name in a hat and draw some?
You can do what you do with that thing.
I could use a random
Generator.
I was hoping somebody would think of that. That's how I get y'all.
That's what I said.
Yeah. Good. Okay, there we go. Excellent, right? So there are lots of, guys, come on. Hey. So, there are lots of different ways that you could pick a sample of students, right? So remember, a sample is just taking a piece of the population and pulling out those people. Now, something else we've talked about is the importance that everyone has an equal chance of being selected, right? Why do you think it's important that everyone has an equal chance?
Because then it's totally random. It's not like everything's affected, or there's no bias.
Exactly. You're avoiding the bias. You're not avoiding picking it up. So, for example, as a teacher, let's say that the principal decided that she wanted to see samples of how well my students are doing. Okay? Well, who do you think I would pick? I mean, not people-wise, but I would just look through the grades of the people who got what? E. You bet. And say, look at this. All of my sample, all they have E's, right? What do you think she really wants to know?
What the actual, like, how they're actually.
How a random sample, everyone having an equal chance of being picked would allow her to see a really good sample, okay? And you have to think about that when you're working with these papers that we're going to be doing on the inference. Whatever sample you choose, every person in that sample has to have an equally likely chance of being selected. So if you pick year 12 students at QMC, could you only pick the subjects from this room? No. Every year 12 would have to have a chance of being selected. Good. What is bias? Do you want to volunteer or do I want to volunteer someone? What the heck? Annika.
Like,
Bias.
I guess like leaning towards one side
Or one thing, yeah? Okay. So,
kind of inclined to, yeah, I really don't know how to explain it.
it's all right. You're on the right track. Yeah. You're leaning towards certain things. For example, if I was doing grades for a class, I might have a bias to choose the higher grades. That's a type of bias. Or you might have somebody who believes a certain way and that's the way, and so they're going to answer the question in a certain way, right? Because of their prior beliefs or their own values. Okay? Good. Yeah. Okay? Now, there are different types of sampling, and we looked at them in the other book and talked about some of these, and we'll look at a few of these different ones. You're not going to need all of them, but a stratified sample. There are lots of ways of getting stratified samples. Stratified means like layers, right? And so those are really mathematical ones. Simple random samples, like pulling numbers out of a hat, assigning people a number. Person in the street. So you just sit around and wait and grab every fifth person on the street kind of thing, right? So all kinds of things. Quota sampling, you get a specific amount from each target group, right? We could do the year 12 thing as long as we walked around to every year 12 and picked like 5 out of each class, right? That kind of thing. Convenience sample, not great. What do you think that one means? Just do whatever's easiest. Okay? All right? There's some more formal part of it. So, let's think about sampling methods and whether they're acceptable or not. Remember, to be acceptable, a sampling method needs to be random. In other words, they have to be, every person in the population has to have an equal chance of being selected, right? That's the big thing, equal chance of being selected. You should not choose a group of people that are homogeneous, in other words, that have the same opinion, right? So would you pick a group of little old ladies and ask them about, and ask us to see if New Zealanders like to garden? Maybe not. Or, right? So something like that. So look at this one. A newspaper asks readers to fill in a survey and return it via post. What do you think about that? Good sample or bad sample? Okay, what do you think is that you don't like about it?
No one posts nothing.
All right, there's one problem with it. The post, yeah? Okay, what else?
It's only going to get, it depends on what the sample group is trying to be. If the sample group is trying to be their readers, then that's fine. But if they're trying to get a sample of the population, you're going to lean towards older people because young people less likely to get newspapers. Same with post, even young people less likely to use post.
Exactly, correct.
Well, people are reading the newspapers probably because they align with their beliefs, so they're all going to be kind of in the same opinions.
There you go. Newspapers have bias, don't they? Yeah. Go ahead, Brian, and then. You're probably, newspapers are probably, again, probably leaning toward an older generation.
Are there people like strong
Yeah.
reply to the survey, and because it's probably a little bit biased, they're going to have more biased, strong opinions.
Certainly, yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. They're already going to have built-in biases because of the paper that they choose, right? And only people who really feel strongly about something are going to take the time to fill in something and mail it, aren't they? So there are a lot of problems with that. Now, if, again, though, this survey was about the newspaper and its readers, then it might be okay, right? But still, via post, it's still tough, right? Okay, good job. All right, how about this one? A magazine conducts a poll by sampling 15 of its subscribers. What do you think?
Magazines usually have like a certain audience. Like, for example, if you have like a gardening magazine, it's going to be a different audience to like, like a woman, like a teenage magazine. So, and it's like not to be stereotypical, but like there is like certain people who read newspapers, so you're not really getting like a wide range of people.
There you go. So magazine could be for a certain target. Anything else you see wrong with this? Oh yeah, it's a tiny, small group, right? Remember when I had you do like we were doing the year 8s or whatever. How many did you have to? Did you need to have in order to do just the basic one, the smallest number you could accept? 30, and they only got 15 people here, right? Now, unless it's a very small magazine, that ain't enough, right? Good job. Okay. A random sample of students are asked about their smoking habits as they walk past the library. Anything wrong with that one?
It says, sorry.
They're less likely to have,
Yeah, it's okay.
they're less likely to be honest if they're like out in public. They might not want to say that they smoke if they think that like their parents are nearby or whatever, and they're like don't want to get in trouble.
Right. Are you going to tell people at school that you smoke?
No.
Well, you might. It depends on who's asking the question. You might be who would be the most appropriate person to ask that if you were going to do that? Me?
Counselor, nurse.
Think?
You're free.
Yeah, I might pick a student to ask that question. Right?
Sorry.
Yeah, think about it. Now, you're thinking about people who are trustworthy, who need that information, but are you still as likely to be honest about it? Right. Good job.
They might tell a peer mediator.
Okay.
Can I tell a peer mediator?
How about walking past the library? Juliana, do you think that's a good place? To ask students?
Probably not.
Do you walk by the library every single day? Definitely not. It's upstairs. It's out of the way.
People that go to the library might be like, really smart people that don't have any smoking habit.
Right, your smokers are hanging out back. They're not at the library. Right? They're behind the gym. All right. At least they were in my school. Okay. People are randomly selected from the phone book and rung up to participate in the survey. Anybody see anything wrong with this sampling? Yes?
Lots of people on the phone book that have landlines.
You bet. I mean, how many of you still have a landline at home? That's about 4 of you? That's not very many, right? So the phone book's not going to be a great place to get the participants. Okay? I love this one. Come on, guys. Focus, or I'm going to call on you independently. The first that's how it makes it sound competitive. The first 40 people who walk into the mall wearing jandals are asked to complete a survey. It would be perfectly fine if you were asking a question about jandals. Yeah?
I love jandals.
Yeah.
My dad has like 27 pairs of jandals.
Yeah. They are. I've got a bunch. Okay, but you see that it would only be, but that would about be the only thing, the only way you could ask it. But 40 people is good. What else is wrong with this question? They're walking into a mall. Do you go to the mall every day? Do you think everybody even goes to the mall? Is there a mall in Wellington?
No.
There's one out in the hut, one in Plato.
Is there?
One in Johnsonville.
Oh,
What is
okay.
it?
I don't know that.
It's meant to be
Hey. All right, guys, come on, focus back with me here. A doctor has a new asthma drug and gives it to all her patients to try. Good sample?
No.
That's not a sample, is it?
Let's just keep it one.
And what's wrong with that? Yeah. You can't give an asthma drug to someone who doesn't have asthma, right? It's a terrible sample. Good. We're not giving you any. All right. Here we go. So, for the paper. So this better be in your notes. This is the kind of thing that I'm going to ask you about tomorrow or next time we meet. I'm going to walk in, you're going to walk in, and I'm going to use my little device here to find out who is going to volunteer to give me a sample. Okay? The sample method must include where the data is from. Okay? Yes, please. Write this down. Where the data is from. So, guys, come on. So you might use data, ladies. All right, so where the data is from. You don't have to conduct your own experiments, do you? To be able to make a comparison or an inference. Do you think somebody has measured all the a lot of data about how tall penguins are in New Zealand? Yeah. Do you need to go out and measure those penguins? Probably not. You can probably look at a doc website or somewhere and get that information, right? Okay. Do you think that somebody might be gathering up grades of year 12 students across New Zealand? Yes. That data exists. And it's fine if you use someone else's data as long as you tell me where it's from. Okay? So, remember the one about the dogs in Flockton? Did you go and measure all those dogs and weigh all those dogs? No. Nope. But does that make the data not accurate? Nope. No. You can still use it. What kind of sample? In other words, how did I choose my sample? You must tell in the paper how you chose your sample. I chose a random sample of 30 pieces of data by assigning each one a number and then using a random number generator to, right? You know how to use a random number generator now, so might as well. It's a good one. Or I assigned each one a number and drew names out of a hat. It doesn't matter. I picked every fifth piece of data on there. Whatever. But you have to tell exactly how. And how many you're sampling, and there is a magic number minimum. What is it? 30. Good. Okay? Good job. Okay? How many you're sampling? Would 50 be better than 30?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Okay? So here we go. So for an example, anybody want to give me an example? I will be using the information in the data set provided by... Yeah, there you go. By the teacher, right? Because it's very likely that I'm going to be giving you a set of data to use for this. Okay? All right. Now, provided by the teacher, but would that be enough? No, then you need to go on and talk about where I got it. You know, the title of the what organization collected the information, etc. Do you think that some information from some organizations might be more reliable than others? Yeah? So if you want information about COVID-19, you're going to go to President Trump's website? Then you believe that medicine is made from the DNA of aliens? Okay. That is fact. Okay? Then, another example. I'll be using the information provided by blah, blah, blah. Put it in. I will take a random sample. And I will use this method. Why? Because it will ensure a lack of bias in my sample representative of the population of Year 9 New Zealand students. Now again, this is an example, right? But notice the things. Why are you going to use that method? Specifically, you need to mention lack of bias. All my recording is going to have is you talking. All right, representing the population. So make sure that you mention your population. Okay? Sample size of what? 30. But look at this. 30 from each group. So if you're doing males and females, you need to do 30 males and 30 females. So we still have our magic number of 30, but it needs to be 30 from each group. So actually, you're going to be using how many pieces of data? 60. That's a minimum. Perfectly happy with 30 from each group, but that'll give you enough to be confident in your conclusions. Okay? Okay? All right. So, you're going to have this book. Let me not putting that on, buddy. Does a sample size of 30 mean 30 in both groups or 30 overall?
30 from both.
30 from both groups. Good job. Do you need an equal number from each group?
Yes.
Yes. An equal number from each group, because otherwise if I pick 5 males and 30 females, right? Or even if I picked 80 females and 30 males, is that going to work out for me?
No.
Nope. I need to get an equal number. Now it can be slightly off. This is not an absolute. If you had 29 and 30, it's not going to ruin your survey. But really, you should pick the same number. How do you think you could minimize bias when you're selecting your data? Any solution?
Make it as random as possible.
To make it as random as possible. There you go. That is exactly what you need to do. You need to make your sample as random as possible to eliminate bias. Perfect answer. Okay? You're very welcome. Okay? All right.